Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I'm doing week 6 of my 2021 reads. This week I read a pretty good range of books across a couple of different genres, and that always makes me happy. The first book that I finished was All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a YA nonfiction memoir manifesto. I have heard such great things about this book from so many different people on BookTube, and they are completely correct. This is a wonderful, wonderful book. So basically, this is George M. Johnson's memoir of their childhood through adulthood, talking about growing up as a Black queer kid and really reflecting on those experiences to kind of have a manifesto of advice for other young people going through similar experiences. It is just beautifully written, very, very approachable, and covers a lot of important topics such as, how to deal with different aspects of your identity and what sorts of behaviors that other people may direct at you are okay, what's not okay, what you should stand up against, what you should be aware of. I mean, it's really just advice. It is exactly the sort of thing that I feel would be so useful for somebody going through similar experiences. And I just really enjoyed it as somebody who doesn't have any of those experiences. It is very well written, very approachable. I highly recommend checking out some of the Own Voices reviews that are out there. It is just a really great book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. I read this together with Sush, and it was really an interesting experience to read this because this book is sort of a dystopian that follows a brother and sister, where the sister has some almost supernatural abilities, and the brother is dealing with being a Black man in the US, and with a slightly near future dystopian element to it. It talks a lot about so many issues of poverty and racism and so many different things going on in the US, and in particular sort of the prison industrial complex. The brother gets arrested, and there's so much in this about the impact of prison on him and the injustice of the entire system. And there's so much in the sister of rage at the system. So this book covers some really, really good topics, definitely extremely in the moment, and I think really worth reading. It is, however, almost poetic. It is very abstract in a lot of ways, sort of like a fever dream, and I found it was really hard to sink my teeth into, very hard to kind of grasp. And I don't know if that's just the mental state that I was in while reading this, or if it was just a little hard for me, but I just struggled to really connect with the story, even though I thought the writing was very beautiful and the topics and the themes were spot on. It just kind of jumped around a little bit too much for me, and I couldn't really follow what was going on. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I do think that it's doing something really interesting. So if you can handle a little bit of that abstractness, I think this is worth picking up. Next, I read A Girl Like Her by Talia Hibbert. This is a contemporary romance by Talia Hibbert, who I absolutely adore, and it follows a woman who is dealing with some issues. So she lives in a small town in the UK, and her ex-boyfriend is such a bad guy. He was really emotionally abusive and sort of turned the whole town against her. But a new guy comes to town, and they sort of hit it off and really fall in love, but they have to deal with the consequences of that previous ex-boyfriend's spreading a lot of lies and rumors about her, and sort of emotional trauma she has from that. Also, she is autistic and dealing with some difficulties in terms of how to communicate and connect. And I love Talia Hibbert's writing. I love her characters. I love that she does these cinnamon roll guys who are just the absolute sweetest, and these very grumpy lead women who I just relate to so much. So it definitely had a lot of that in this story. It is a little bit more dramatic than some of her other things that I've read, a lot more angst, and that part doesn't necessarily work for me. I actually had to take a little mini break in the middle because it got a little bit too angsty for me. But even so, I still love the banter, and I love the topics that this discussed. In the author's note at the end, Talia Hibbert mentions that she is also autistic, which I did not know. I know that she has chronic pain, but I didn't realize that she also has autism. So I love just kind of seeing the way that she represents different facets of her personality and her characters, and the way that her characters are just so fun and relatable and witty and just really likable. So I definitely enjoyed this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and I will continue to the other 2 books that are in this series called, I think, the Ravenswood series. Next, I read a couple of picture books, starting with Gustavo the Shy Ghost by Flavia Z. Drago. I heard about this book from Priscilla at Bookie Charm, who has an entire video recommending Latinx picture books, so I will link that video and her channel below. I highly recommend it if you have any interest in picture books. And this was just the sweetest, most beautifully drawn story. So it is about Gustavo, who is a very shy little ghost, and he really wants to be friends with the other monsters in his town, but he just doesn't know how to reach out to them. And so this is all about him finding that kind of inner strength to learn how to reach out and connect with the people he wants to connect with. The drawings in this, though, are what make it really outstanding. I think that this drawing style is just perfect. It is super adorable. I love all of the colors. I love the cuteness of all of the monster kids. I love the Dia de los Muertos kind of decorations in the background. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I definitely recommend picking this one up. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The other picture book that I read this week was Julián at the Wedding by Jessica Love, and this is another beautifully illustrated picture book. This one is done in this sort of watercolor and maybe crayon drawings. It is done on like a brown paper background, and it is gorgeous. I absolutely love this illustration style. It's all about Julián, who is somebody who maybe likes to dress in drag and things like that, and he goes to a wedding where he meets another little girl who maybe is a little bit of a tomboy, doesn't like to deal with the frilly dresses and things, and they're just enjoying themselves at the wedding, getting to be themselves, as well as in the background we have these 2 Afro-Latinx women who are getting married, and it's this celebration of that love, celebration of who the kids are, and also beautiful grandmothers who are just super supportive. It's got very few words. This is one of those young children picture books that just doesn't have very many words, but the illustrations say so much about the story, and it's beautiful. I absolutely love this book as well. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So those are all of the books that I've read this week. If you guys have read any of these, if you have any thoughts, any comments, any recommendations, anything at all, just leave me a comment down below.